I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Dawn Cunningham.
Hello, Texas Future Business Leaders of America. Thank you to Amina Rose and Dr. Turner Gray for inviting me to participate in your fall regional conference. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I hope to give you some information today that will help you shape your future. My name is Dawn Cunningham, and I'm a human resources professional. I've been in human resources for over 20 years, 10 of those years in management positions, and for the past 18 years have been very active in my local chapter of the Society for Human Resources Management here in San Antonio, which is also called SARMA. I've been a volunteer leader for many years, and this year I'm president-elect. Next year I will be president of the association. So I am very happy to share that information with you as well. If any of these future leaders that I'm speaking with will pursue a career in human resources, just know that there is an association here in San Antonio and in various other metropolitan areas around the state and country for you to become a part of. So today I'm going to hopefully give you some tips that will help you shape your future with regard to the world of human resources. I don't know how much involvement or interaction you've had with human resources, but I can tell you that everyone will interact with human resources during their career. You may have already had some interactions with human resources professionals if you currently have a job or are looking for a job. Maybe you've already interviewed for some jobs. So most likely you will be in contact with human resources, recruiters, and other professionals. So when I was thinking about today and what I wanted to share with you, there's a lot about human resources that I wanted to share, but I figured I'd start at the beginning, and that's usually the application process. So when you have a job that you're interested in applying for, that's your first impression, is how you fill out the application. It's very important that if it's a handwritten application, that it's very neat, legible, complete. When I say complete, when you look at an application, it will most likely ask for your personal information, your work history, your education. It may ask some questions about your skills, and I'll have sections where you can list certifications, awards, and so forth. And then most likely have an opportunity for you to attach a resume. A resume is very important. That's kind of a shortcut for recruiters to look at without having to review your entire application. A resume highlights the most important parts that you want to present to an employer. So it's very important that the resume also look neat, formatted well, easy to read, free of mistakes of spelling and grammar, and it's updated. So if you have a resume, it's a good idea for you to have someone look it over and read it from a perspective of a potential employer. I've been working since I was 16 years old, and I am still updating my resume. A resume is something that is evolving. You build on your resume. Everything, every experience, every job is something that you could potentially add to your resume. If you're not working right now, that's okay. Your resume can still have a lot of good, valuable information about you with regard to your volunteer work, your skills, what you offer to a particular organization. Everything is experience. So if you've volunteered, if you've been in, for example, this organization, put it on your resume. That speaks loud and clear to recruiters. Everything sends a message to that recruiter. Everything that's on that resume is equal to something, some work that you put behind it, some dedication, some commitment, and it says something about your character. So on your resume too, you want to make sure to highlight those intangible parts about you that we don't know just looking on the paper. You know, if you you're very punctual, your time management skills are great. Your leadership skills, what types of leadership positions have you been in? And don't discount anything. I used to say to my boys growing up, you know, two things you can put on your resume is your Boy Scouts, your performance experience. That even it doesn't matter how young you were, it just says something about what you did and what type of person you are, and how you can contribute to the team. So again, my example was Boy Scouts, like Eagle Scout. If you were an Eagle Scout, well, that says a lot about you. You worked very hard to get to that level. And volunteer work says a lot about you. It says you care about the community and you're giving of yourself. And of course, in high school, that is very important for college applications as well. So you get some experience when you apply for colleges by filling out your application for college. So it's similar to that. You present all the great things about you that you have to offer the university. The same is true for a job and an organization. Why should the organization hire you? Okay, so that's a lot about the first step, and then let's go to the next step where you actually get called for an interview. The interview is where you're going to really sell your skills and sell your experience and what you have to offer. So be prepared for that. Do some research. There's lots of just basic questions that are typical for a first interview. Depending on the job, you may have several interviews. The first interview is usually just collecting information about yourself. Be careful not to give too much information. I know it can be nerve-wracking. Recruiters know that you are nervous in an interview. So just take a deep breath and take your time when you're being asked a question and you're a little stumped. It's okay to think about it and to really collect your thoughts before you answer the question. So, but be careful to not give too much information. There are do's and don'ts for recruiters when interviewing applicants. And so you're in the interview, you're being asked a ton of questions. Be careful also of the general questions. General questions, the open-ended questions. Recruiters like to ask those because humans get nervous when there's silence. So our tendency is to want to fill that silence with just anything because we feel like we have to say something. So if they just say to you, tell me about yourself, well, just remember to relate it to the job, relate it to what you can bring to the organization. You start with your skills, then go to your experience. If you have experience, talk about your character, and it's okay to discuss if you're involved in school, if you have a leadership position. Highlight that as well, because that tells the recruiter how much hard work you put into that organization, how much dedication, time you put into that. And recruiters do want to know what you're passionate about. So it takes practice, every interview will help you. So you get through the interview, you might have thought, oh, I did really good. I'm gonna get the job. Or you might think, ugh, I didn't do so well. I shouldn't have said this, shouldn't have said that. That's okay, that happens to everyone. No matter what, throughout your career, you're still gonna have those moments. Just learn from the experience and go forward. If you do get the job, great, you did great. Whatever you said was what the recruiter needed to hear, or what the hiring manager needed to hear to make the decision to bring you on board. If you didn't get the job, don't get discouraged. You have no idea who you were competing against. You might have done everything exactly right, and still there's someone else that had something else that they were looking for. It's not that you were horrible or they didn't like you. It's that person had something else. And legally and lawfully, it has to be related to the position, related to the job. You do have protection under the law. There's the Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically Title VII, put into place equal opportunity under the law. So regardless of your age, gender, ethnicity, disability, religion, you cannot be discriminated against because of those factors. So back to the selection process, you get the job, yay. So now it's time to go in for all your paperwork, your orientation, learning the position. There are certain documents that you have to provide for employment eligibility, because we require you to be eligible for employment in the United States in order to be employed. So that means you have to provide some documents that verify that. And some documents that verify your employment eligibility are your social security card, and you also have to provide documents that verify your identity, such as your student ID, your driver's license. So be prepared with those documents as well. It's very common for applicants, especially in high school and in college, to be scrambling at the last minute, calling their moms and dads, where's my social security card? Where's my birth certificate? That's another acceptable document that verifies your eligibility for employment, because the birth certificate will verify that where you were born, here in the United States or wherever. And also, all the documents have to be updated. So if you're looking for work, if you're looking for a job, make sure that you have those documents ready to go. That is how the employers will verify employment and also verify that you are who you are. Then there's how you get paid. So most employers will have direct deposit, which means it goes directly into your bank. And if you don't have a bank account, you can get a bank account, some kind of account, very quickly, very easily. Just be ready with that documentation for your first day. So then you're on site and you're doing orientation. You're getting to know your coworkers. You're hiring your manager, the company, wherever you work. You're going to start to learn about the culture of that organization and the policies and the procedures of that organization. So that's the basics of coming into an organization, and the rest is really up to you as you continue to grow your experience, maybe apply for promotions. Then you can just build on that. And one of the things I tell people all the time is every day is an interview. So if you are a future business leader of America, that means at some point you want to be the leader of an organization. You want to be in management, you want to be a supervisor, you want to go all the way to the top, and be in the executive office or own your own business. So just remember, every day is an interview. Everything you do for whatever position you're in is going to reflect on your overall performance. And your managers will evaluate you on that. Evaluations can be once a year, they could be after 90 days. You should get coaching ongoing. Your evaluation should never be a surprise. You should know what the expectations are of your job and goals, time frames. Are you meeting your deadlines? Are you learning what you're supposed to be learning? All that your manager should be discussing with you. And if you're not getting that feedback from your supervisors or your managers, please ask. Communication, it's a two-way street, and take ownership of that. Take ownership of your performance. Now, you may get into a job and decide it's not for you. You don't like the organization, you don't like the culture, you don't like the job. And that happens. That's part of life. No one says you have to stay at the same job forever and ever. That just rarely happens nowadays. So it's okay to move on to bigger and better things. Just do it in a professional way. I would never recommend you burn bridges, because your network is like gold. And that is one of the themes of your conference today, is about networking. That is so important in building your career. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's never too early to start your LinkedIn profile. That is a professional social media platform to put yourself out there and tell other professionals and other organizations who you are and what skills you have, what experience you bring to another organization. I have recently experienced a lot of my son's classmates who have graduated and they're in college, and they're starting to connect with me because they know me, as from growing up, and also I'm in human resources. For whatever reason, people are connecting through LinkedIn. And I get frequent calls from my own colleagues, the people in my world, the people in the HR world, the colleagues that I know. When they're looking for another position, they will contact me. And I will do my best to help them out and connect them to other people that I think might be of value to connect with them. That's what networking is. And so another very important part of networking is in person. We can't do that right now, really, but once upon a time, when we were able to get together and talk face to face, that really is how a lot of business partnerships and relationships meld and come together. When you get to talk to someone and introduce yourself to someone and start building those relationships, it's very important, because you never know when that person might be of help to you, or vice versa. So classmates are a great way to build up your network. Classmates, coaches, teachers. And then when you get into the workforce, you can start connecting with those employers, your managers, and so forth. And as you leave organizations, you still have that connection. That's a way to keep in touch, and they keep in touch with you. So it's really valuable to have that. So I definitely encourage that. Back to the one-on-one, once we start getting into the one-on-one, face-to-face opportunities, you'll want to build those confidence, build those public speaking skills to be able to have a conversation. Not everyone is an extrovert, I know that. We have introverts, extroverts, but there is a way that you can network. even after 20 years in human resources, I still take the opportunity to attend mixers, luncheons, training, and get to know different professionals in various organizations. And I say to myself, sometimes I don't want to go to these meetings, mixers. It takes energy to do that if it's not in your wheelhouse, and even as an extrovert, it is extra energy to do that. But I say to myself, if I can meet one person, just one person, connect with one person, really connect with them, it was worth it. It was worth it to me. So again, it takes practice. Once you get going, you'll see that there's a rhythm to that. Of course, people are always introducing themselves to each other, and then they'll ask you, what do you do? Where do you work? So be ready with that introduction. Be ready with that elevator speech, we say, especially if you're looking for opportunities. And I have found that the more you talk with people, and it doesn't have to really even be business related, the more you talk with people, the more you discover you have common ground, the more chances you are to make a connection. So, and that's so important in business, in networking, is making those connections, building those relationships. And anyway, so I'm coming to the end of my time. There's so much more that I could talk to you about. On the back end, let me just wrap it up by saying, when you leave an organization, of course I said don't burn bridges. Also, it's professional courtesy to give 2 weeks notice. It is so important that you do that if at all possible. Organizations plan for you to be there. They have you scheduled to be there. It is most likely a surprise when you leave, so they need to plan for what's going to happen when you're gone. Post your position, interview for your position, get your replacement in. You might be cross-training that person. So it's always good if you can give notice and not leave on bad terms. And because you never know, you might come back to that organization. I actually, right now, my position in human resources is at the Education Service Center, Region 20. And once upon a time, I used to work there in college. I just worked there part-time for a year and didn't think anything of it when I graduated from college and I found another job. I left on good terms. And well, what do you know? Here I'm back at the same organization, and it's a good feeling to know that I did the right thing and I left on good terms. So you won't regret doing that as well. And another thing before you leave is to also ask your colleagues, your managers, your supervisor, if they can put you down, if you could, you can put them down as a reference, because you might need them as a reference going forward. Because I forgot to mention on the application, one of the things they do ask for going forward. Because I forgot to mention on the application, one of the things they do ask for is a reference. So you could be scrambling to think, who can I put down as a reference? And it goes without saying, don't put anybody down that's not going to give you a favorable reference. Another good reason to be professional, be respectful when you're in your job, even if you don't like your job. And we've all been there. There's tons of stories of horrible jobs, bad bosses. Just rise above it. Your goal is to be a leader and to deal with that. Of course, if you're in a situation where things are really wrong, there is a way where you can take action, especially if it's a case of sexual harassment or, as we mentioned, discrimination. always talk to someone about that. Always report it. There's always someone that you can talk to, even if you feel like they're not going to do anything about it. You talk to your supervisor, talk to your manager, or go above that. If you feel like you can't go above management, there are organizations outside of your company that you can go to. For example, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC. They're the entity that handles cases of claims of discrimination, claims of harassment. So that's outside of any organization. An employee can go there and talk to someone about a bad situation that's going on. So always speak up, and not just for yourself, for others. If you see something that's going on around you, you should report it as well. And there's another law that protects you for doing that. It's against the law to retaliate for speaking up. It's called the whistleblower's law. That term whistleblower means that you are reporting wrongdoing, and you have the right to do that, and you have the right to protection to do that. You cannot be retaliated against because you did that. So hopefully today you got something out of my explanation of the application process and tidbits about networking and so forth. I wish you all the best of luck in your high school years and goals, and then thereafter. I am on LinkedIn, Dawn Cunningham. If you build your profile and want to connect with me, just write me a note and tell me this is where you were introduced to me, so I know who you are, and I will connect with you. Also, I will give my contact information if you feel you want to contact me directly after the conference. I am available for any questions that you have. Thanks again for having me, and have a good conference.
Thank you so much for that helpful advice, Ms. Cunningham.